What's up, everybody? It's kind of like old Sith Council now. Stupid. The fact we got to do this digital, it's not going to be for too much longer, hopefully, just maybe a week or two. But it's nice to have you guys back talking Boba Fett. And I was doing these spoiler reviews by myself. And I was like, where's Steph and Mike? Well, have no fear. Here they are. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Mike Kalinowski, Steph Sabra. Happy New Year, kids.
Happy New Year to you.
New Year.
Good to have you back. We haven't really talked about Boba at all. That was the whole point. It's like,
I know.
As we're getting into episode 2, I'm like, I can't do another one of these without these guys. So I was like, so what we're going to do, the way we're going to do it, I'll do a full-on spoiler review in the morning, drop it on the channel, and then we'll do a full-on Sith Council. Because what it also allows us to do is if there's any other stories that are happening in the world of Star Wars, then we can also talk about that, not just keep it specific to Boba. We'll certainly cover a lot of Boba, but let's get into, Steph, I gave you props this morning on my spoiler review.
You did?
Yeah, because when I asked you about it last week, I said, what do you think? You said, I dug it, but I think that they would have benefited had they dropped both episodes at the same time. And at first I was like, I don't know. And then after watching this one, I was like, yeah, Steph was definitely right. I think that this played like an hour-and-a-half film. What I said, and I want to let you guys really give your thoughts because the audience is probably sick of hearing my thoughts, but what I had said was I felt that this was a great hour-and-a-half movie. I really enjoy the flashback side of it. Otherwise, why is it called Book of Boba Fett? Because we're going to get chapters in his life. But I'm done with the Tusken Raider stuff now. Great that we had it for 2 episodes, but I'm done with it now. Let's start with you, Steph. 2 episodes in, thoughts on what we're seeing.
I thought it was really well done and fun. I definitely think that it should close out this section of the story now moving forward. I think it was a little, not risky, but an interesting choice to take this side of Boba's story just because Dune just dropped and it just feels so closely connected to a similar storyline. But I feel like we got more like gunslinger type vibes with Boba, like going in, like kicking everyone's butt and then walking away with like the swag on 100 that you've never seen before.
Right. And
then the introduction, seeing Pike Syndicate was cool to see like them in live action and introduced in this series at least. And Black Chrysanthemum was so sick looking. That was definitely the highlight for me. But it was a solid episode. I'm curious to see where they go from here. I think this is a good introduction, but I hope next episode really, really lets us know where they're going for the rest of the season.
So you thought 2 was partially set up as well. I mean, I don't disagree with that where it comes to here, because I want to hear you guys' thoughts on like overall like what you liked about the first episode and what you did. My biggest problem with the first episode was the major domo or whatever his name is from the mayor's guy who seems like he's in Veep. He's not in Star Wars. Apologies, understandable, but it's a good story you want, and that was the first bothering. And then they do it again in this one. They have a guy that when he comes into the mayor's thing, the guy's like, oh, I don't see you on the list. Next community. It's like, no, stop this. And then the other guy comes in. He's like, oh, you can't go in there, sir. But once they get to the mayor is gangster.
Yeah.
The mayor is gangster. He's like, oh, this assassin? Oh, yeah, shoot him in the head. And that's the stuff that I've been looking forward to. Mike, what I haven't heard really anything about this show for you so far. What are you thinking?
I enjoyed the first episode. I for me, and I did a little thing on Twitter about it. Like the parkour took me out. I was like, like you said with the Veep stuff, like or the like for me, anytime I see that, parkour was cool 15 years ago for about 2 hours.
Right.
And now everyone's doing it. And I'm like, and this is Star Wars. You got to be. I mean, there's a reason they created Terrace Kasai, like a martial art for Star Wars, because you just don't do stuff in our world in Star Wars. You create new versions of it. But so that took me out of it a little bit.
What part are you talking about?
When they're roof jumping. No, in the first episode, when they're roof jumping.
Gotcha.
Like,
can I tell you real quick, just so you guys know, this morning I don't know, are either one of you guys UFC fans?
Yeah.
No.
So, Steph, there was a fighter back in the day named Frank Trigg, and he fought Matt Hughes, and so today when I was on the show, I said, I wonder if Matt Serra knew that Frank Trigg was in this, and I wrote to Matt and I go, do did you know that Frank Trigg was in it? He's like, yeah. He's like, did you know that I knocked him out? I was like, yeah, he did. It's true.
I didn't realize that. That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, so Mike, go ahead. The part, I'll tell you, the parkour stuff didn't bother me.
Yeah, no, it didn't bother a lot of people, and that's that's my little
100%.
secrecy.
100%. There's little things, and you're not the first person that I saw.
Yeah. It was just weird. It was so jarring, and Star Wars does such a good job of separating themselves. And I don't even think that was what was weird for me now watching the 2 episodes back to back. Robert Rodriguez directed my favorite episode of Mandalorian season 2. Like my favorite episode. This one, I always felt a little lackluster.
He didn't direct this one.
No, the first one he did, right?
First one he did, yes.
Yeah, first one he did. That's what I'm saying. Seeing, was it Steph Green did this one?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this episode was fantastic.
You love this episode.
Oh, I love this episode. Like, I'm not a big Tusken Raider guy, but I've been over the holiday break. I went back and rewatched Battlestar Galactica, and they do such a great job of taking modern things but putting it through the sci-fi lens, which makes it more palpable, like politics and religion. So for this, the whole thing with the tribalism and the Tuskens and through the lens of sci-fi, I love characters that aren't black and white.
Well,
always bad, always good. Like the Tuskens, they're so honorable, but we don't ever see that,
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because what that did was it allows us a little bit more insight on Boba, right? Because when we see Boba, in Mandalorian, he's become way more of a warrior, because he's not. This Boba doesn't seem like he's going to get knocked in the back of a jetpack and go into a however many years he was, but he seems to be trained better. He seems to have an honor code, like you said, and it looks like this is the Dances with Wolves Last Samurai. And I dug that about this. And there was something I don't know. And I'm sure at this point, someone in the comments section of the spoiler video I did today will let me know. In canon, I certainly don't remember them ever saying that at one point Tatooine had oceans. They say
that was a surprise to me. I'm sure, someone much deeper knowledge than me would know that. But
I love that, though.
Fascinating.
And there's so many, and there were also things like let's get into what my favorite, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to assume that it's everybody's favorite scene was when the Hutts showed up in the second episode. No,
would it be? I don't know.
No, it was.
There's a lot of stuff I loved. So
the Black Chrysanthemum. That's my.
Which
I think
that the Wookiee.
He's in. He's
Bad
from the
Bad Mofo
comics.
He's in the comics, right?
He's from the comics.
Okay, so that was my thing, because I remember before I bailed on the canon stuff, I remember him. I remember a Wookiee, but I'm remembering though that that Boba worked with him in the comics.
Yeah. And Dr. Aphra.
Yes. So are we 100% that that's the same one?
I think I don't. That's what I'm going.
That's what
telling
I'm saying.
myself. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's what I'm telling myself just because of the connection.
I thought of it immediately because I remember, because it was Boba Fett and a Wookiee that looked exactly like that dude that discovered that Luke's last name was Skywalker. And then they delivered the news to Vader, and that's when Vader figures out that, Luke's his kid. So that was during, I thought it was a Star Wars comic, but Steph, I think you're right. I think it was the Vader comic. But either way, that whole scene when that showed up, I mean, that was part of the scene with as when he shows up. But the way that they did that, when we saw these trailers, that was when we said, oh wait, they're doing The Sopranos in Star Wars,
right?
And if you didn't feel that beforehand, you certainly felt it here because of two certain things. The territories, the mayor whacking them out and saying, no, someone's setting you up. You got to go figure out what's going on here, playing the side. But then the twins are coming back. Well, who the hell are the twins? And here come these slobs. They come in. But the most definitive, them telling you this is a mafioso show, was when Fennec says, you got to get permission in order to kill the Hutts. It's like the Dons. You can't just kill a Don. You got to get permission to kill a Don. And all of that was set up just wonderfully. And I think that sets up episodes 3 to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's exactly right. And with the introduction of the Pike Syndicate too, I think that we're just going to get way grittier because we didn't get Fennec Shand this episode, and I think that she brings in the on the ground mob story that we're getting.
Yeah.
But I did love that part too. That if you look at everyone holding up the Hutts, they're like,
they're
I figured they were only. I was thinking there'd be more of them. There were like 12 of them. I was like, come on now.
They're exhausted. Plus,
the one guy in the front kept like falling down. He's like, ugh.
But isn't it interesting that Jabba wanted Wookiees for like slaves, right?
Yeah.
These Hots are like, nah. This is and I loved that Boba's like, yeah, bring in as many gladiators you want. I'm like, I don't know if you want to say that, dude. This guy, I loved how calm the Wookiee was. I loved how he's just like, yeah, they give me the word, I'm going to shoot you in the face. And there was no, like, he wasn't like being a beast, like, rah! He was just had his blaster, and he's just like, if they say the word, you're dead.
Gangster.
And, it was so gangster. And Jennifer Beals played it really well. She's scared out of her mind.
Yeah.
She's like, you haven't heard. The twins are coming back. And I was confused at first when they said the twins. The twins are doing other stuff. I'm like, is he talking about Luke and Leia? And like, wait, the cousin. What's he talking? Who are they talking about? And then the drums start playing. And that scene, when that was my favorite scene of the show so far because of everything it set up. But then there were some people that were confused or not confused, that were not loving the flashback angle. I think you got to deal with it. I think that's what the show is. I think the show is going to be the Book of Boba Fett, portions of his life and learning more about him. They keep flashing back to him holding his dad's head, not the helmet, his head in his hands. And they keep going back to that. And I think that that's going to play into something. I think we're going to see something during that clone stuff. And I think that's where we're going to see Cad Bane during flashback. I don't think Cad Bane shows up now. I think Cad Bane shows up in flashback during a portion. Maybe they recreate the actual battle when Boba gets shot in the head.
So do you think they're going to put him in a flashback to introduce him into live action in a different show or perhaps season 2? Or you just think that's just the start and finish of Cad Bane live action?
They potentially could put him in another episode, or maybe he comes back into the present day or something too. But I think you introduce him that way. I also think that we're going to get some Empire Strikes Back time. Like, why? Because I think another issue that I see people having is that Boba is not this kind of ruthless
bad guy,
bad guy, right? And so the question is, will we see that side of him in flashback? Will we see because there's a lot of that stuff that he did, that he was, as you mentioned before, Steph, he's running around doing missions for Vader. Like, that's not that you're working for the bad of the bad at that point. So you got to there's some dark side shit going on in your life that you're doing that. He's turned a crossroads with the Tusken Raiders, and he's kind of gone in a different path after that. And I think that's what we learned. But I think that if you show him in flashback that ruthless side, that that it could come back in the present day, that's a good way to blend it. Mike, I don't know if you agree or disagree on that.
I'm trying, as you guys are saying that, what is the time frame
right now
he gets out of the Sarlacc?
Great question. I don't think that's a question I asked this morning.
Because I'm trying to think, it's like, okay, we're trying to get one thing that I love, and now this episode really hit home, was the Boba we got last season, Mandalorian, and now he's a far cry different than what we're used to in episode 1 or episode 2, Empire Strikes Back, Jedi. So I'm like, what happened? And now this is explained. It's like, oh, I love the Zen master warrior.
It still comes out though. It still comes out there. Remember when he fought Bo-Katan? Yeah, because he still has a bad temper. Because remember when Bo-Katan and he started going back and forth with Casca Reeves, right? Is that and so when that was going on, so it's still there. But to answer your question as far as the time goes, phenomenal question, because there are two main questions here. Question 1 is, how long was he in the Sarlacc pit for? Right.
Okay.
Question 2 is, how long was he in the village for? Because he was there for a prisoner for a bit. They didn't just say, oh, okay, it's been a few days, now you're one of us. He's been there for a while. So I was thinking the other thing is, by the time he gets out, into the real world again, the Empire's not in charge anymore. Like, it's all gone down. Like, it's all like, when he gets back out, he's like, well, wait a minute, who's doing what? Where's, oh my God, like the whole system has changed.
Yeah, because we're getting rid of anything comic related, book related that showed Boba in his suit after the Sarlacc. That's gone.
Anything,
because when he's out, we meet him in Mandalorian season 2. It seems like when he leaves the Tusken Raiders, he's going right to Mandalorian season 2.
Well,
time wise,
maybe
it just seems like that. Like
maybe.
he's going for his armor.
Maybe
the only way you can kind of tell, which I have to look back at the episodes, is by his skin healing.
right.
Like,
That's
that's
true.
the only way
Yeah.
you can see like how healed he is. Like every time
Right.
he's in the tank, he's healing. When he's meets up with the Mandalorian, he's still in a healing. Yeah, he's still pretty messed up and like pale.
But his suit is kind of pristine. The black robes are not all tattered, so he hasn't been in any kind of battle with that robe on. So he looked. The things he wrapped him into the end of this episode.
Was he wearing the black robes when he showed up?
Yeah,
right, that's when we saw him.
And the not that it matters, but the Hot Toys that released those really big figures. They just released the 2-pack of his robes and then his Mando. So it's like that's the one outfit he's got. So I think the time is pretty quick.
See, I like that because but it's not quick. It means that he's been in that village for almost like 5 years. Because Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because they've established when that takes place.
Yeah, because you can look. The other side of that is too. How long has he been looking for his armor? Right. So I mean, he gets out of the thing. He does a few missions. He tries to figure it out. This is why I think that there's so much going on, and there's so much. There's just flashbacks of him with the Sand People. No, it isn't. It's him. Like you start to ask those questions, and exactly like you just said, Mike. He got his robes, and now what's next for him? Now he's approaching life in such a different way.
Yeah.
But he still is what we haven't seen of him, which I hope they do show, because you are not going to survive in this world. At least you shouldn't, if you're going to be like, so kind of he's pussyfooting around right now, right? A little bit, because when he walks into Jabba's palace, I mean, where was this rule of order and conduct with poor Bib Fortuna? He's like, oh, hey, I'm glad you're back. F you. Shoots him dead. I mean, he must have really hated him because he leaves. Right. Oh, and the other thing I didn't like about episode 2 was the assassin in the beginning going, he ain't talking, and then he's at the Rancor before he sees. I knew that. Did anybody?
You could have not set that up. You knew what was happening.
Yeah, it was. He just kind of gives it up. I don't like when they do things just for the bit. That was just for the bit.
Yeah, just to say it.
Yeah, that was just to set up that joke. Like, oh, look, everyone's so scared of the Rancor. He said it even beforehand. It's like,
yeah, I get it.
You know when he was hallucinating getting his new like staff?
Yes.
Were those Jawa eyes? Like, do you think that was any part of like a vision of where he could find his armor? Because the Jawas did have it before.
Yeah, the Jawas are the ones that it's different. It's funny because this is what they do, and I don't have a problem with it anymore because I've just accepted it. What they have done inside of the Star Wars lore, they cherry pick from canon too, which I don't think is a great idea. If you're going to keep everything canon, you should keep everything canon. But with the television shows, the animation, and the TV and the films, they all stick to stuff that's set up. You're not going to see them screw around with that, but they cherry pick from canon stuff. Like there was some stuff that changed around a little bit with what happened with what's his name? Not Karth. Who's your boy? Yes, with Cobb Vanth. A little bit of change of how he came with the armor. A little bit of change of how the Sand People, the Jawas got it. I think in the novel it was differently. I don't think they stripped Boba from it, or at least from what I remember.
They're taking what works for the story better than
what's and the same thing with but they are taking things, right? So they took if that Wookiee is the same Wookiee, they took that Wookiee from the comics.
Yeah,
that's the type of stuff that as long as they acknowledge their canon stuff and go, hey, we got a really cool character here, let's bring them in, and then we can add some of that. We can reference some of the stuff that they did, but we don't have to hold it. Like when we saw Bad Batch, there was tons of stuff that Lords of the Sith had mentioned, and they stuck to it somewhat, but they maneuvered around a little bit. And I'm cool with them if they do that, as long as they acknowledge it. Because I think that for people, I'm not reading the stuff as much as I used to, but I think for those people who are, they should be rewarded. Like the High Republic stuff that's coming.
Right. Yeah.
This trilogy, there's new stuff this is where they really have an opportunity. Like they've been pushing this High Republic, these novels and the comics and in the game that's coming out. They've been pushing it hard for the core audience that is really responding to that. I hope that they get rewarded. I know that the Acolyte comes out like I think that the High Republic novels come out 300 years before Phantom Menace, but the Acolyte comes out like 50 years, so maybe there's not enough time to connect it. But I don't know, references to characters I think would be rewarding for the fans that have invested.
Yeah. I know it never has like a clear answer of what they do with that. But what do you guys think about? I like that we got to know the Tusken Raiders more, because I feel like they've just been so trivialized and like just scream and shout and you don't really understand the characters. Yeah. But I feel like it's still weird not seeing any like what they look like. Like I feel like it's
I love
that.
I love
that.
I love the mystery of it. Because someone's like, oh, maybe we'll see them in the I don't want to see them. I never
there's so much about Star Wars that we do get the reveals of what it looked like. I mean, Boba Fett's face, for so long, and Mandalorian's face. It's like keep some mystery. They've established, I think, this code. Yeah, that I love. I like you said, Steph, they're always just screaming, and they're known as the kind of bad guys, but now they're
morons. A lot of them are morons, and I'll tell you why. I mean, the ones that the chief and the chief's like warrior. Yeah. Only ones. The rest of them, on the kid, I'll give a pass. The rest of them, imbeciles. The guy brings in the speeders, and they're clanking around on it, slamming. He's like, "Hey, stupid! I'm going to train you how to go in there so we can get this train." Right? That's that. And then at the end, after he gets the train, hey, look, we found water, and we're going to dump it all over the sand. No, you idiots! Like, put a cap in it. Get these alien spice traders to go get buckets and work for you. Yay, all the water's gone, it's in the sand now. I was like, well, what are you doing?
I didn't like that part.
It's idiots. And but to your point though, Steph, what it made me do in the first episode, and I thought they actually explained it pretty well in this one, but in the first episode they made me realize, as I'm looking at the kids and the women that are in there, and you're like, oh, I actually feel really bad now after episode 2, Anakin, when he says I killed all of them, the women and the you're like, maybe if you would have talked to them, maybe you could have gotten your mom out of there. You figured it out because Boba did it. You figured it out, and you probably could have just force minded them and gotten them out. But the other side of that was the chief then said at the end, look, some of the tribes, they're just going to kill.
Yeah,
some of them are just here to kill. They're scared. They don't know what they're doing. They just kill. We're hiding in the shadows. So maybe that village that Anakin was in, they were just straight up murderers. So that's the explanation of it.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. I wasn't even thinking about that connection, but that would make sense.
Yeah. There was some great stuff. The train scene, and I love that. Do we have a name for the warrior, the one that trains him? Because there's always that character, right? Like there's always that character that is skeptical about the stranger that comes in, but then he trains him, and then that guy usually eats shit at the end.
I know, and then it's really sad. I thought that was gonna happen. I was like, is he gonna die? But that's a little part of my criticism. I don't necessarily need the face, but I feel like there was still a lack of agency. Like none of them had names. Like you didn't really understand if we're going to spend an entire hour with them.
I don't mind it.
Do you think it then, on the other hand, it leads to they want them to be, they're one unit. They are a people. They're not individuals. And I don't mean that like in their tribe, they're all individuals, but we see them as a people, as a one unit. We represent everybody. We're all together, as opposed to individualizing everyone where we pick favorites. And it just seems like that's the tribe. The elder statesman speaks. We got the young kid that's the voice of like the new generation of Tuskens, and everyone else. We follow what he says, and this is our way of life.
Yeah, I was actually it looks like on this one we're on different sides here, Steph, because I thought that I think it actually played pretty well because the way that they're dressed, and it goes part into the tribe that I knew who the guy was from the second he shows up and he starts, and he has that whole moment where he goes in and he's just wrecking shop, and it doesn't have to be Boba the whole time. It's the guy they've set up that this guy's a badass, and I love that scene when he's taking people out on the train, and there's these two guys that are sniping at him.
Yeah,
and he looks over, he's like, "Oh, there's two more morons. Okay, let me get them."
Yeah, that part was sick. Yeah, the train scene was sick.
It was great.
I really liked that.
Yeah, the Johnny Five is running the shop, and then he's doing he's the engineer, and Boba comes in. He goes, "Stop the train." And he's like, "No," and he runs off, leave us into the sand. I love that he jumped out. I thought he's like, oh, he just killed himself. Like, no, he just scattered off. I thought that was.
That's the last we see him.
Yeah, I don't.
Homie.
You don't need this. I mean,
he's probably going to go to what's her face, the chick with the curly hair and the.
Right. Amy Sedaris.
She'll show up in her shop somewhere. He's like,
hey, little buddy, what are you doing over here?
Hey, where'd you go from? Out on here on your own? Come on in with me.
I'll tell you what.
She'll show up. Watch.
Amy Sedaris compared to the mayor's that guy and this other character, she looks like Christopher Lee. I'll tell you that. As far as I like her as a character. I mean, I like her as an actor, but I'll take her character all day long. Even though the TV shows have this problem that every once in a while they have these modern characters. Yeah. That just throw me out of it. And I
get the fact that you're doing, you're taking, it's a Western and we've got I'll say this. Okay. For me, the biker band gang, they even had tattoos that their logos on the back of their leather vests. I'm kind of like, okay, that's establishing that they were in a bar, roughing it up with the two young couple and they're in a biker bar. It's like, all we needed was Ron Perlman as that guy. And we would have been set for the knocking on your head.
But I thought the aliens played though, right?
They did, but you just didn't need the leather logo on their back to go.
That didn't throw me out as much as someone going. You got one guy going, hey everybody, come on down to the ice cream shop. It's like, what? Where'd you come from? It's like in the prequels, you have the announcers. Hey everybody, welcome back to the track here, and then young Anakin Skywalker. Awful, like that kind of stuff. And they've been doing it in Star Wars for a while. It just throws me so out of it when they do that. And then you have
why?
God, the Hutts were talking in subtitles. I was nervous because we've seen Hutts before with New Orleans accents, and I'm like, oh my God, when the sister. I'm like, please have subtitles, and she did, and I was like, oh, and it played so much better. Yeah, Lady Proxima.
Did you know that the actor who plays the Major Domo was in Veep before you said that?
No, I didn't.
That's hilarious.
Was he really?
Yeah. I just looked that up. David Pasquesi. He's in a lot of stuff like Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I think I'm still holding out because there's a part of me that thinks, do you think that his facetiousness, like that type of delivery he's giving, is a part of his character? Like he's playing off a little bit dumber than he is.
Absolutely. I think he's going to wind up being like a Littlefinger or something.
Yeah.
I think absolutely. Because they even set it up. There's a watch out for that guy. Whether or not he assassinates the mayor or whatever, but it doesn't change his delivery. It's not the character I have a problem with. The character I think is great. The character and the idea of what is necessary. Even the character of the guy who's checking him in that doesn't have him on the list, like that at that point you could have stuck another alien in there with you're not on the list. No one sees you, and you're like, oh man, they're really playing this guy out. But I don't know. I don't see you. And it's like this. It was such a stupid bit. I don't know what she's proposing.
No.
What
he's proposing? He's saying he's not getting in. That's what he's proposing.
That's right.
Oh, he needs some milk.
Yeah, he does. Needs some milk. But that was the only. But it was so brief, and the majority of it. Like once they got to Jennifer Beals, and once that reveal of when the twins came in, I was all on board. There was no other problems I had with the episode. Oh, I did though. Man, they like to just slaughter these banthas, huh?
Why? Like that's the second one. Is like, why did they bring a bantha back?
See there?
Why?
It's like just to
you lost one the first time. They're not going to move. They're too big. They're giant targets. Why would you bring a second one back? Behind the dune.
Because Mike, it's been proven majority of these Tusken Raiders are idiots.
Yeah, they were like using them for cover. Like, how do you're not going to find more of these?
The fourth thing was like taking a dump in the sand and then it just gets shot. Yeah. That was a tough one.
Yeah. Poor guy. The second one. Poor guy.
Love the spice part of it though too, because it wasn't.
Oh, that was great. It's like, what does the spice look like?
Yeah, the guy's trying to stupid. And he's like, it looks like that. And then I love the line when Boba's like, yeah, this ain't looking too good for you.
This ain't looking too good for you. This ain't looking too good.
And then he's like, okay, look, here's the deal. You can't pass here for free anymore. And it shows you like he's a badass, but he's also going to take care of his peeps now. And he's like, okay, so you're going to pay them now. Now go take a walk and figure out how the hell are we going to do it? We'll grab some of your water pods like they do. and you have like he's like you'll have protection. That was the one thing that he's like you'll have protection from the Tusken Raiders now that you're like says who?
Yeah,
like, the other
there's so many tribes. Yeah, what are they gonna say?
Yeah, I don't think those guys made it.
Yeah, I don't think they're making it.
But I'm loving. I like the idea. To me, like when you compare, like Solo, right? Like Solo. It was a movie that just a Star Wars story that played into certain things I didn't necessarily know if I like the second half of the movie after doing our rewatches, right? But like it just didn't play the same way. This is a Star Wars story that they have more time to develop, obviously, and why this is the kind of Star Wars story that I'm into because it does seem like a comic book, right? It does. It just seems like you picked up a couple episodes. Hey, did you pick up the new episode of the Book of Boba Fett? Yeah, it was great. It's smaller, but it's also playing in a world where it's refreshing to not have a story revolve around the Empire or and I like the fact that they do it a lot in The Mandalorian. They do it, and you'll probably see them pop up and you'll probably get the Mandalorian will probably come into the show, and that's fine, but it doesn't rely on it, and that's kind of what I really enjoy about this series so far. I like the world that we're playing in. Yeah,
I do too. It's not it's a slow start for me, but I am invested in it, and I think partly that's due to Temuera Morrison is such a good actor. I'm just like loving watching him do his thing in a way that we haven't been able to see before.
The chemistry between him and Ming-Na it's fantastic, and I like how she's like Silvio Dante for him. She's like she gives consigliere, she gives him the advice, and sometimes he
criticism a little bit.
In the first episode, she's like, you gotta kill this guy. He's like, no, we're not killing anybody. He's like, is that a no? Yeah, it's a no. Let's move on here. And I do think though he's got to start playing by some of these rules. Like like he's not. It could come back. It should come back and bite him in the ass. Like I want to walk in on my own 2 feet. She's like, you gotta follow some of the customs. Yeah. And here's a question for you guys, because this is a question that I had no answer to when people were asking the questions in the in the chat last week. When they were all surrounded in episode 1, why didn't Boba Fett use the jetpack and fly out of there? Nobody has answers.
Meaning to grab, and would he grab Fennec?
I mean, you're
not gonna leave her behind.
No, but you could go up in the air and start blasting from above. I guess he's in the blast.
That isolates her. If he's not going to, if he's going to bring her, how's he going to fire?
Yeah, true. I mean,
and then it isolates her on her own.
I did like when he disintegrated the dude, though.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. That was awesome. When you guys he disintegrates him and then he tells her, "Don't kill anybody else." It was I like the ruthlessness.
Sometimes I feel like he can take out 5 people at one time, and then sometimes I feel like he's choosing to play it cooler,
right?
For some reason.
Yeah, I mean I think that stays consistent to what we saw in Mandalorian also.
Yeah, someone had said that he's still healing. He's still, he was taken out pretty quick, so he's not at his full strength. So
yeah, they keep sticking him in that tank, and I like I'm enjoying the Gamorrean guards. I like
them.
I like them. Someone's like, oh, they look too fake. I'm like, did you ever see Return of the
Jedi?
Jedi?
Fake?
Yeah.
I think they almost look too real.
Yeah, they look really good.
I can't tell if those are their bodies or if they're in fat suits.
Right.
Because they're like muscular, but they're fat. Like I can't tell.
He's like,
if that's a suit or those are two like weightlifters.
Well, they said it in Return of the Jedi. They were all fat pigs, and now they're like all jacked up. I'm like, you ever been to Comic-Con? You can see some guys dressed up and they're all jacked up, and then you see a guy who's supposed to be a gladiator and he's like 400 pounds. I'm like, it happens. I'm like, some people are big, some people are small.
Yeah, I don't think they've been living too high on the hog lately. Jabba's gone. They're not getting fed all the time. They're a little more ripped, the two of them.
I like
probably lovers. Who knows?
They are. But what I don't want to see them hold back on is the idea of tragedy, right? I want to see us establish a little bit more, whether it's the Gamorreans, whether it's I don't want to see Fennec die, but I mean, I want to see, and do you guys think that Fennec is going to stay loyal to him the whole time? Do you think she'll turn on him? Because if she turns on him, that it's going to be a crazy.
I think that's one of those things where depends on how many seasons we get.
True. That's true. I wonder how many. They haven't really talked about this show. If it's it hasn't been announced that it's limited. Like Obi-Wan's limited.
Oh yeah,
Obi-Wan's
that's
limited.
true.
So this could, I think and that kind of takes us into our next story, which Boba Fett actually premiered. Its premiere scored higher viewership than Hawkeye did.
Oh.
This is from Grant Davis over at Star Wars Newsnet. And it says the Book of Boba Fett's debut numbers, they are in, and the first episode of the new live-action Star Wars series had an impressive 5-day premiere, besting the launch of fellow Disney Plus Hawkeye. Boba Fett stars in the first official spinoff of The Mandalorian. According to Deadline, Samba TV has indicated that devices connected to their service tracked that a total of 1.7 million viewers turned in to see Boba Fett rise from the depths of the Sarlacc stomach and begin his criminal empire, which we have not seen yet. That doesn't look like a criminal. That I want to go back into that because Boba Fett ain't looking like a hardcore crime boss yet. He's got to get there. What's particularly impressive about this statistic is that Hawkeye's premiere came with 2 episodes with a considerably larger runtime. Unfortunately, since Samba TV wasn't measuring streaming numbers at the time, it can't determine how this opening stacks against fellow Star Wars live action series like The Mandalorian, but there is one other show that Samba TV tracked that could serve as a frame of comparison. Loki scored the highest debut for a Disney Plus series with 2.5 million, a move that was so successful that Disney Plus opted to shift all their premieres for original series to Wednesday now instead of Friday. It remains to be seen if all Star Wars can pull in those kind of numbers, but it's a promising start for the original live action Mandalorian spinoff. Oh, Mandalorian, which has 6 more episodes to air. I think they meant.
Oh, it's 8? I thought it was 6.
Here's the thing.
What's this thing? Tell us. What are you proposing?
They actually say 6 more. This is after the first one. So there's so 7. So I read somewhere that it was 9, and then everybody in the comments kept telling me that it's 7. So I'm pretty sure it's 7. Even Miguel
it's so weird. Like,
from Star Wars Newsnet came in and said it's.
And Obi-Wan's 6, right?
Obi-Wan is, well, that's what they say. I don't know. I'm not sure.
This is so damn confusing. Pick a number, people, and stick with it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
My OCD is going crazy with this.
Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to blow those shows out of the water.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
It's going to blow it out of the water. It's going to destroy Boba Fett's numbers. It's going to destroy Loki's numbers. It's going to blow it out of the water. I still think. I think that it's going to be the most. I think it's going to be could be the best bit of Star Wars material since Empire Strikes Back.
It's so weird when people, and I've seen a lot of online discourse where they try and pit the shows against one another. It's like Loki destroyed Hawkeye's numbers, and I'm like, what does it matter? I didn't care for Loki. Loki's probably my least favorite of the new shows. Like Hawkeye was my favorite, but it added a story to it that I wanted to hear. Loki, to me, I'm like, I don't see what you people were seeing in that show. That was about 5 episodes too long.
I mean, Hawkeye was my least, and that Loki was my favorite.
Yeah, Hawkeye was my least. I would say WandaVision's my favorite, but I understand.
But you're saying like people are going to be saying like, you know, like it doesn't matter. It enriches the brand.
No, totally.
It enriches one. Was it the rising tide lifts all boats?
Absolutely. But I think it's just fun for people to compare numbers and stuff. But it was
they can take the numbers and stick them up.
So what is this now? Who Maya Erskine?
Yeah, Maya Erskine. She's the co-creator of Pen 15, a comedy I think you would actually really like, Kristian.
Pen 15?
So yeah, it's like penis.
Exactly.
Just before the upcoming Disney Plus series Obi-Wan Kenobi began filming this past spring, it was reported that Maya Erskine was cast in a supporting role. In a recent appearance on a Variety podcast, she was asked about her experience on the set and revealed that her part in the series is very small, while also singing the praises of the series director, Deborah Chow. Speaking on the Just for Variety podcast, Erskine refers to her role in Obi-Wan as a speck, which obviously sounds like a very, very small part. Regardless of the short time that she spent, the Pen 15 actress seemed to really enjoy the experience so much that she considered bringing her baby to the set and wrap him in a shawl so he could pass as an extra. Speaking of extras, one of her biggest takeaways from being on set was interacting with the extras, whom she found to be very big Star Wars fans themselves. She said the extras were incredible on set, and a lot of them were mega Star Wars fans. One guy, he was so nice and lifted up his sleeves and had Star Wars tats all over his body. And they build droids. There are a lot of Star Wars fans that build droids, and then production companies will rent them from the fans. That's fantastic. That I've heard.
Cool.
She also says Deborah Chow is an amazing director. The cast was incredible. It was so much fun to do. This is awesome. I can't wait to hear more about it because Deborah Chow is one of the main reasons I'm so excited for it. Nothing against the way that both Mandalorian and Boba Fett have done their shows. I think that what has worked very well for both of these shows is that whether it's Favreau, Rodriguez, Filoni, they all have a plan where the series is going, right? Mm-hmm. This is what we've always said, that it is so crucial, whether it's Marvel, Star Wars, you got to have a plan of where it's going, and they're following that. So the directors come in, the directors go, what's the plan? Okay, great. Here's my vision on how to help you with your plan, which is great. It's working really well, and traditionally how television is done. But as we've seen, when one director is able to do a full series, you get some great stuff. Like look at season 1 of True Detective, entire series. This one, full series of Deborah Chow, and Deborah Chow, after looking, I think arguably people could say her episodes of Mandalorian still some of the best Star Wars TV that we've gotten thus far. And watching how she is such a student of the game, and that they trusted her, and rightfully so, to tell the story of one of the most anticipated stories in Obi-Wan Kenobi and what he's going. I cannot wait for this to go.
I'm curious then. So let's say Obi-Wan is 6. We'll just say that for argument's sake. And Book of Boba is 7. Why? It's 45 minutes extra. Why wouldn't they have gone, hey, you're doing Book of Boba? I know Robert Rodriguez wanted to do an episode, but I'm sure he probably couldn't commit to basically
why didn't Deborah Chow do Book of Boba?
No, why didn't Steph Green? Why didn't they go, Steph Green, you've got the whole thing? Because Deborah Chow's or is it, hey, Deborah, you proved on Mandalorian you could do this. You want to do this. You've earned your stripes. Go.
I think that's kind of what it was. I think that on the set when they were talking about what's coming next, and the idea, that's why I think she wasn't on Mandalorian season 2, is because she was taking on all of
production on
Obi-Wan. Plus the fact that if you look at it, Obi-Wan is very different than, say, because we don't know, Boba Fett could be 2 seasons, could be 3 seasons.
You're right. Okay, they established it was limited, so hey, you don't need to build tapestry for X, Y, and Z.
Right. When you're a director, knowing that this is it.
Gotcha.
She's essentially gonna let's say it's 6 episodes ranging between 45 minutes to an hour. So we'll call it a 5-hour and 30-minute movie is basically what it is. So she's directing a 5-hour and 30-minute movie.
It's funny because television, and I've heard people say this, and just with the experience I've had, television, being a director for a TV show, is you're keeping the assembly line running,
right? Usually
on a show, NCIS or whatever. Those pieces work. You got to come in and you might have time to put your stamp in it. With The Mandalorian, now Book of Boba, every episode does feel different, and they're allowing their directors to not just, hey, you're the filling in to keep this train moving. Right. We want your vision, and I think it really works so well. So maybe that's why with Boba, they're like, we got 7. We want 7 different styles.
Yeah, well, remember, look.
So, I corrected myself, and I stand corrected.
Well, look at Favreau, right? Favreau comes from the other side. He's been on the Marvel train and kicked it off with Iron Man. And he's seen what they've done over there, which each one changes it up, whether it's the John Hughes feel of the first Spider-Man movie, for the spy movie in Winter Soldier, and they're doing that now in Star Wars. And the Star Wars shared universe, even though you can say, well, of course everything's a shared universe, the way it connects. Yeah, but this is different. Like the shared universe is happening in television.
Right.
And you use that example of, let's say, Ahsoka Tano, which not only transfers over from Clone Wars and Rebels, but now because she is debuted for people who were not familiar with her or became familiar with her through Mandalorian, now they're familiar with her, and now she gets her own spin-off series. And now that they've established that, and that's a way to connect all of it together, and that's what Boba Fett is an example of that. Boba Fett, of course, he's a legendary character, but someone like me, I didn't give a crap about a Boba Fett movie when I like Josh Trank, but when they said Josh Trank's in a Boba Fett, I was like, who cares? Simon Kinberg's gonna be writing this Boba Fett movie. I don't care. Boba Fett was a cool character. I don't care. What do I care about Boba Fett for? And then they show him in Mandalorian. And like you said earlier, Mike, I'm like, well, where the hell has this guy been? What's he going through?
It's funny you say that, because I feel like we did get a Boba Fett movie with The Mandalorian. Like everything that Mando did, we're like, that's what I pictured the badass of Boba Fett to be. Right. So when you're bringing Boba Fett, you've got to you can't just have him show up and be Mandalorian Part 2, 2.0. Right. It's like he's got to be different, and they've done that. I think
it's funny though, because from what I hear is that Favreau, when he pitched, this is why Boba Fett, I think, also got greenlit, because Favreau's like a massive Boba Fett fan, loves Boba Fett, and wanted to do a Boba Fett series. And then I think that Filoni's like, well, we can't do Boba Fett because of this and that, but what if we do a character similar? And like exactly what you just said, Mike, everything that they really want, that maybe Favreau always wanted to do with Boba Fett. He gave it to Mandalorian, and now Din became that character and developed him. And then Filoni was also able to combine that with all the cool Jedi stuff that he knows, and that's why we got the child, and that's why we got Luke and all that, and it played out great. So being able to then have that collaboration between Favreau and Filoni, and they're going, well, what if we did bring Boba Fett in, but he's been on the sands of Tatooine for God knows how long, doing whatever it was, and they start coming up with this idea of Boba Fett. What if he was raised? What if he was like, he got out of the Sarlacc pit? You can see them geeking out. They're like, well, what if Sarlacc pit? But we know that he got out because of the things that were set up. But then, like, what the Tusken Raiders, and they did like this, Dancing with Wolves.
You're right.
You see him developing, and you're like, oh, that'd be great. And let's hopefully, if the audience really responds to him, then we can. Oh, we'll do the Book of Boba Fett now. You can see how those conversations would happen because these guys are just geeking out on set. Think about the hodgepodge of ideas that are flying around on that set, and not just Mandalorian, on Obi-Wan, and then on Ahsoka. You're going to see so many different new soups of shows and ideas come about because of this kind of collaboration, and that's the way it should go. And also why I don't give a crap if we ever see a movie ever again. I'm sorry.
They covered it.
Don't care.
No, we're good on that end.
Yeah. Anything else? Let's see if there's any other big stories that we want.
I've been looking. I don't see anything.
Nothing big. I mean, like, I think O'Shea Jackson Jr. offers praise for mystery role. I guess he's gonna pop in there too. That's kind of cool. I like O'Shea Jackson a lot. Kathleen Kennedy talks Obi-Wan Kenobi reunion in future. I think that was an old story. I covered that a while ago. Stellan Skarsgård talks about working on Andor. It's from Miguel Fernandez. It's nothing really too big here. A lot of it's just Boba Fett coverage. A lot of the stuff that they have. But I mean, I think that's the majority of it. I think what I'll do next week, I mean, we'll probably, we might have to do digital again next week, but hopefully we start to get into a different place to where we can be in studio again, because I was telling Steph and Mike, I finally changed up the studio a little bit more. We're going to be doing some more things in the new year. But any other final thoughts for you guys of the series thus far? What do you guys hope? What I hope happens in the next episode is I hope that they go into a time period between Empire Strikes Back during that time, and watch him when he's ruthless in a flashback. But Mike, I don't know what you're hoping to see.
I don't know where we're going. That's the thing. Like, there's no underlying, I don't say mission, aside from, but again, if this is going to be an ongoing series, it doesn't need to, we've only got 5 episodes left. They got to start moving, with other things. Like, so I think they're just taking their time. And if they are doing that, I think we'll get more of those flashbacks. And I think it would lead to that time frame where we are getting him in the Empire, maybe interacting with the other bounty hunters. It seems like they're splitting their time almost more so to who's past than they are current day.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I definitely want more bounty hunter interaction. I would love if they had like a meeting, Fennec and Boba, where they kind of lay out all, like, everyone who's working in Tatooine and like how they're going to win over
allies and enemies, right?
Yeah, like an execution plan. So we kind of have like a map of where we're going or what could happen in a little, but obviously leave room for surprises, but just something to show that they're having like a tactical plan.
Yeah. Well, that's what I liked about the idea. This is another reason why I love like streaming television better than network, besides an array of different reasons. But one of the main reasons is you don't know. Like, when I hit pause when I started the show today, and I saw 53 minutes or whatever it was. I'm like, as opposed to last week, it was 36 or 37 minutes, and you're like, you never know what you can get. So next week could be 50 minutes, or next week could be 35, and it just depends on the story that they want to tell.
I do love that because. Yeah. And again, this is a streaming benefit. They're not beholden to like, we got to hit a commercial break every 10 minutes. So let's put a cliffhanger here. You don't know, I'm 30 minutes in the episode. I know what's going to happen next. I know we're going to get a break, a cliffhanger. Right. And I like that. And they're giving the directors, like, tell the story. You got to be under an hour. Sorry.
Bless you.
What is going on here? You got to be under an hour, but tell the story. Tell the beats how you want the beats to come. So,
yeah. So, Steph, do you have a time period that you want to see in Book of Boba Fett?
Time period
for him, or are you cool with where they're going?
Yeah, I'm kind of cool with where they're going. I would love to stay more in the current day, just to see where that.
Lots of flashbacks.
I like flashbacks, like probably one an episode I'm good with. If I would want to see a flashback with him, like, I don't know, maybe more with his dad to see like
some Django stuff. That'd be
Shang-Chi thing where like, you know, you get like all of these teachings now from the Tusken Raiders, from his dad, from Darth Vader, maybe whoever he's been working with. And like, then by the end of the show, it's like him deciding what kind of man he wants to be.
Interesting. I have a question about that though.
Huh? A lot.
Right. Listen, this was a lot of fun though. I'm glad to be able to talk with you guys about it, at least, even though we're not in person. And then if you guys aren't doing this already, it is so important to please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or follow us on Spotify. That is very, very important to the survival of this show, because as you guys have asked many times over, how do you support the show if you're not doing Streamlabs, if you're not doing super chats? How do I if I can't afford to be a patron? That's it. Just go and subscribe to us. Even if you watch us on YouTube, subscribe and follow us on podcast form. It is very, very, very important. And for those who haven't subscribed, please do that. Also, we have surpassed 32,000 subscribers already. We did that 4 months. 4 months.
That's incredible.
Hoping to do 50 by March. So if you're brand new to the channel and you watch this show and you still haven't subscribed, come on. Do it.
Come on.
Right. Thank you to Mike. Thank you to Steph. We appreciate you guys. And we are going to see you on the flip side. Sith Council.
Feel your anger. It gives you focus. Makes you